Hey everyone, I am down in the basement today, and considering the heating season has pretty much started now, beginning of November, I figured I'd make a video of the boiler. This is and yeah, we're right now we're in the regular home, not in my brother's place. Well, I mean, as you can see in this room, there isn't much space as there used to be because we had the basement. If you remember, I told you done in 2000. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. This boiler is another piece of original equipment in the house from 1990, 21 years old and still working. I can't find any brand name on this thing here. I don't know. As usual, if someone in the comments or whatever could tell me what this is, I'd love to know. Anyway, this has had a couple of repairs. Since we've had it. I know we had some problems with the ignition a few years ago, but we got that taken care of, and one of the water valves up here also had to get replaced. But other than that, I believe everything else in this machine is 21 years old and it's still working. And this is just the water heater right here. We got the gas shut-off valve right there. Should we ever have to use it? Yeah, sorry if my voice sounds kind of weird, guys. I just took allergy medicine. Hopefully it'll clear up soon. Anyway, what I'm gonna show you today is just basically the boiler itself, and I'll even get an operational video. I just want to let you guys know, for most of this part, I'm gonna talk about it a lot. So if you guys want to just skip ahead all that stuff and just get to right where I show you the operation of it. I'll put a time slot in the video description for it, so you can skip right to that part. But anyway, another change we had done to this was, as I told you, we had the basement done in 2000. So we got a new air handler installed right here, as you can see, this huge piece right here. And that one over there is for the first floor. That one's original. And we had to put another water valve. You see, we got first floor, second floor, and then B for basement. We had this one put on when we had the basement done, and we also had to get a new, you see this large gray tank here? I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing that's kind of like a overflow tank, if I'm using that term correctly. Again, if someone could tell me, that'd be great. And adding that third water valve pretty much put the boiler to its capacity. I mean, this doesn't happen very often, but if all three floors are calling for heat, this thing just barely manages to keep the water hot for all the heat, but it still does it. But yeah, I think it's pretty much at its limit right now. And and speaking of the temperature here, I think I'll get you a shot of this analog gauge, the kind I like. The top gauge. Let me see if I can just do this. Unless you can, now you can't even see it. The top gauge is the boiler pressure, and the bottom gauge is the water temperature. And currently, the pressure's at its perfect setting, so that's good. And the water temperature is currently about 160 degrees, I guess. And just to show you of how everything flows, because I told you it has water. This is the pump right here. This is 21 years old too. This pump still works, and the brand is ACO. I don't even know if they're still around or whatever, but it's kind of like let's call it let's say a radiator in your car. Let's call it the reverse of that. And what I mean is, you can see the water goes in through here, then goes through the heat exchanger for the boiler, and then gets heated up, obviously, and then comes back out through this pipe right here. And just for this video, we're going to follow the first floor. And then this is the water valve right here that opens when it's calling for heat. Then it goes straight up there, then comes over here, going to go to the air handler. And you can see the two pipes right up there. And it comes down right to here. And this piece right here, this from here to here, this is the heat exchanger for the air handler. And you can actually see the pipes along there too. You don't want to touch those when the thing's running. And what I like about the design of this air handler compared to the one you saw in my brother's place is the heat exchanger is after, the evaporator for the air conditioner. I think that's a much better design to go with. And this little thermostat right here, this is what detects how hot the water is as it's going through the heat exchanger. So when the water gets to a certain temperature, it'll click on and allow the fan for the air handler to turn on. And I'm trying to think if I wanted to say anything else. And then once the boiler shuts off, when the thermostat is satisfied, the fan will continue to run until this cools down enough to turn it off. And actually, you know what? This, even in the air conditioning season, this is always energized as long as this switch right here is turned on. So and obviously when the air conditioning's on, the water temperature is very cold, so it's obviously not going to turn on for that function. But I'll explain more of that later on in the video. What's interesting to note is, I'll explain to you, is first, since this one's the best view, we're going to look at the first floor valve here. I want to show you the insides of it, so carefully take this cover off. There we go. And put it on top of the water heater for the time being. And we'll take this off right here. There we go. And what's interesting to note is, I'll tell you guys, the thermostat doesn't actually control this whole, like the pump and the burner itself. It actually controls this little piece right here, the valve. And when the valve opens up, when the thermostat's calling for heat, when the when the valve opens a certain amount, it closes an electrical contact, which then allows the boiler to turn on. You know, it pumps the water and the burner if the water has to be heated. And oh yeah, by the way, the water temperature for the boiler is the range is 160 to 200, to about 200 degrees. And what I mean by that is, if the boiler is running and the water reaches 200 degrees, the burner will shut off while the pump continues to run, just so that way, you know, it doesn't, you know, get too hot, possibly boil the water, and then, you know, the pressure gets too high. So that prevents that from happening. And then once the water gets below 160 degrees, it turns back on to keep the water heated for the heat exchanger. So basically, the way this valve works is, right now it's held closed by these springs here. There's a spring right here, and maybe you can see it. There's another spring down there. You can see that. And what this does is, this little disc right here, I'm going to call it that, this little disc right here, it kind of works like a standard motor would. What happens is, I'm just going to turn it here carefully. Okay, yeah, do you see those windings right there? It basically, when the valve becomes energized, it forces the disc to spin counterclockwise, which is the opening direction, and then it slowly opens up the valve, and then once it's mechanically detected that the valve is open enough, it will turn on the boiler and allow the heating process to begin. And then once the valve is fully open, the windings actually hold the disc in place, which, you know, holds the valve open. And unlike a regular motor, this doesn't always have to be turning when the windings are energized. It's not going to, like, you know, overheat or break down. It's designed to do that. And then basically what goes on is, once the temperature is satisfied on the thermostat, the power is obviously disconnected to the valve, which causes the springs to take over and force the valve closed, and at the same time disconnect power from the boiler. So it's a very interesting process as to how all the thermostat does is just control this piece right here. Now, let's say by chance that your valve malfunctions and or maybe let's say your thermostat malfunctions and you need to get heat. There's actually an override switch down here, or kind of lever right there. You see that? And you can push that open, and then that will actually open the valve. However, that kind of overrides the electrical connection. By that I mean, when you open that up, it's not going to connect the electrical power. It's just going to open the valve and allow water to flow through to the heat exchanger. And like I said, since this thermostat here is always energized, even if the thermostat is turned off, if the water gets hot enough, the fan will kick on, and you'll get your heat that you need. So it's a pretty cool design. What was it? I think I'll get to that when the operational video is going on. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on for you. As you can see, I got my usual tripod right there. So, just bear with me while I try to set this up. I'm going to try to get you a view of the valve in operation as I turn on the thermostat, so you can see what I'm talking about. And so just bear with me while I get the camera on here. Sorry guys, hopefully this isn't taking too long. There we go, okay. So, let me see if I can... I don't want to get this thing too close for obvious reasons, but just close enough so you can see what I'm talking about. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go run on upstairs and turn the thermostat on, and then you'll hear everything I was talking about. So just be right back. Alright, there you go. Maybe you saw the valve open up. Hopefully you did. That was the whole point of that. Okay, so right now, move the tripod out of the way. Right now, as you can hear, the burner's heating up the water. The as you probably heard, the pump's very quiet. It doesn't really make that much noise, and since this valve is open now, I'm not going to touch it because it's energized. Now the water's going up here into the heat exchanger for the first floor, and then once it gets hot enough, I'm gonna just tap this pipe. Oh yeah, that's hot. Once it gets hot enough, the thermostat will kick on and allow the fan to turn on. Oh yeah, this is hot right here, so it's doing well. And there's the pipes right there. I think we'll just wait here for it to warm up. It shouldn't take too long. So you can hear the fan turn on. If this takes too long, I'll put this in the video description too. That's taking a while. But yeah, you can hear it running right now. Doing its job. There it goes. Yep. And now the fan is drying off all the heat that's coming from the pipes throughout the first floor of the house. And if we can see here, the temperature's moved a little bit. It's still well below 200, so the burner's still on. And pressure went up just a little bit, but that's normal for when the boiler runs. And yeah, you can hear the burner. It's right down there. You can hear it. And here's the exhaust duct. This thing has been cleaned a couple of times, so I know it's doing its job properly. So right now, since these valves are closed, too, in basement, there's no heat going to those air handlers, so they'll stay off. So that's pretty much how it works, which is pretty cool. And I'll tell you guys a little story. One time, when I got home from, this is back when I was in high school, this valve had malfunctioned, and as a result, it got stuck open. So since it got stuck open, it never broke the electrical contact. So as a result, for the whole day I was at school, the boiler just kept running continuously the entire day, as did the air handler. So when I got home, the downstairs was like about 80 degrees, and believe me, you could feel it when I opened the door. And I wondered what the hell was going on. And it turns out I shut off all the thermostats and nothing happened. So we have an emergency switch at the top of the stairs. So that's what I had to rely on to turn this off. And luckily that worked properly. But oh, that was quite a hassle that day. And my parents were away, but they were coming home that day, so I had to wait for them to get back. So yeah, so right now, like I said, the windings are holding the disc in place, going against the springs, and as long as the valve is open like that, the boiler will run. So it's kind of like a safety device where, you know, if we were to lose power, obviously it would just shut off all electrical connections and the valve would close. So it's good that it works that way. And I'm gonna go up to the pump. Maybe you can hear it, but like I said, it's a very quiet pump. So, and the water's getting pretty hot. So doing its thing. And you know what? Okay, now I'll turn it off. And like I said, what you'll notice is when the valve closes, you'll notice that the disc will start spinning just seconds before it actually shuts off. So you can see that the valve does control the power. So I'll set the camera down and I'll go take care of that. Yep, and as you can see, the valve closed and power stopped soon after. So it's a pretty cool device, all mechanical, which you know me, I like. So the temperature got up to about 190 degrees, so to say. So it was pretty close to the shutoff point, but like I said, when it hits 200 degrees, the burner cuts off, so that way the water's hot enough and it can just pump the water for proper heating. And see, if I turn it now, it just goes right back because of the springs. It's a cool device. And right now the air handler is just drawing off all the heat it can now from the heat exchanger, and then when the heat exchanger cools down enough, the thermostat will shut the fan off. So I guess you could say it's pretty efficient in that sense, where the burner doesn't always have to be on when you're heating, and that the fan will draw as much heat away from the heat exchanger as it can before it cools down and the fan cuts off. So you could say it's a pretty good system. And like I said, this also goes to the second floor. So well, to be precise, the attic, because that's where the air handler is for the second floor. And got to make sure those pipes, they go a long way. You got to make sure they're well insulated, so that way you know, you don't lose any of the hot water temperature before it gets to the heat exchanger. That wouldn't be all that great. And by the way, this is made by Lennox too. A Lennox air handler with a Lennox air conditioner. That's good. These are the lines right here, and there's the condensate drain pump. And right there we show that duct tape. That's where the air filter goes. I just cleaned that yesterday, so this thing's definitely running at its proper performance. And this, yeah, this is probably, yeah, oh yeah, that's still pretty hot. But it's just drawing away the heat, and you can see it's still running that long after I shut the boiler off. So you can definitely see that it definitely gets a good amount of heat out, which is pretty efficient. And you know what, I guess I'll stop it there, guys. I guess I'm not going to just make you wait here for the fan to turn off. So I hope you guys enjoyed, alright? And I may make a small video of just showing how the override valve works, but other than that, that's about it, guys, alright? So thanks for watching.